happen.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to what I was saying.
Right? There should be no female Secret Service agents. They should not exist. We should have the baddest ass special force badasses on the planet.
You should have
The American political landscape is no longer just polarized. It is rapidly descending into an era of, quote, physical eradication. In this analytical breakdown from Piers Morgan Uncensored, we are dissecting a brutal and highly revealing verbal brawl that occurred right after yet another assassination attempt targeting Donald Trump, this time at the White House Correspondents Dinner. On one side, conservative commentators Clay Travis and Ben Ferguson are ringing the alarm bells, calling out the media's rhetoric. On the other, Democratic strategist Mike Nellis and Cenk Uygur attempt to dodge responsibility, hiding behind, quote, procedural defenses. The right-wing hosts win this exchange by pointing out the undeniable reality of physical incompetence, while the left collapses into a defensive crouch. Let's look at the exact moments the narrative cracked open.
Clay, let's just switch gears slightly to this huge event, which has already, the news agenda's moved on, which indicates just how crazy the news agenda is these days. But the White House Correspondents' Dinner with this appalling latest assassination attempt, which could have been an absolute disaster and massacre. You have been criticised and praised, I have to say, probably in equal measure, for posting on X after leaving the dinner, after the shooting, leaving the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and look at the signs these left-wing CUNTs are holding up outside. And the image showed protesters holding signs saying, "Death to tyrants." Now, given all the debate about rhetoric and the rest of it, obviously you fired that off when you were genuinely angry, and I don't blame you. I think people are holding out signs saying "Death to tyrants" when someone's literally trying to kill half of the cabinet, as appeared to be the mission there, is, extremely triggering, I would think, for a lot of people that were guests there and were fearing for what may be happening. Do you have any regrets about what you posted, or do you double down on that?
I would quadruple down on it. One of those signs said "Death to all of them," in addition to "Death to tyrants." No, I mean, if you look on the right side there, "Death to all of them." That's what I said. That's what I saw immediately when I came out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And I think, unfortunately, those two protesters are emblematic of the motivations that this 31-year-old, highly educated, two-family household, two-parent household, Democrat put in place to justify trying to kill President Trump. He accepted the rhetoric of these guys as justification. He thought that he was a hero. And look, Piers, we're talking about the history of the United States and Great Britain. I'm reading Rick Atkinson's seminal trilogy right now about World War II and the partnership between United States, Britain, and other democracies to defeat Adolf Hitler. Before Trump, we used to sometimes sit around, have a few drinks, and you would say, "Hey, if you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler?" Right? I mean, that was a real debate that people would have. And you would answer the question one way or the other. For 10 years, Democrats have been saying that Trump is Hitler, that he's an authoritarian, fascist dictator. And that might just be a rhetorical argument for some people. But this guy, I mean, he's kind of an interesting test case. He went on Twitter from mostly posting about playing video games and obviously being a bit of a science nerd to being willing to die trying to kill as many people from the Republican Party as possible.
Pay close attention to what Clay Travis is laying bare. For a decade, mainstream progressive anchors and influencers have locked themselves into a dangerous rhetorical loop. They didn't just call Donald Trump a bad candidate. They labeled him an existential threat to democracy, a fascist dictator, and Adolf Hitler. Travis is completely correct. When you spend 10 years telling the public that a man is literally Hitler, you are no longer engaging in political commentary. You are sending a signal to every deranged hero that assassinating him is a moral obligation. This isn't a rhetorical argument anymore. It is a direct cause and effect pipeline.
And let me say this, Piers, I was there too. So I understand his motivation. It didn't surprise me. Supreme Court, the Secret Service performance was indefensibly bad. And so I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. On video, a guy with
agree.
a gun comes running full speed right by the guys who were supposed to be stopping him. According to the indictment, 5 shots were fired by the Secret Service. They didn't hit the guy. They may have hit another Secret Service agent. We're not even exactly sure who did. And the guy might have gotten all the way down to the ballroom. We don't know if he hadn't tripped and fell. I mean, in the wake of Butler, in the wake of West Palm Beach, and now we got Washington, D.C., someone else for sure in the next 2.5 years is going to try and kill President Trump. And I actually think the biggest story coming out of this is our Secret Service is completely incompetent at being able to protect the president. I'm glad this wasn't some sort of trained assassin cabal, because he would be dead. Trump would. And Piers, I said this yesterday on my radio show, President Trump is alive today in spite of the Secret Service, not because of the Secret Service. And that is troubling going forward, no matter who the president is or who people in high positions of power are. And I say that as someone who saw the chaos
Clay,
that unfolded there on Saturday night.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it is being said this, because if you think about it, the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, where he actually got hit and somebody got killed, the first place surely the Secret Service would check nobody was hiding would be a rooftop 125 yards away from the stage, right? And then the golf course one, which I still find, I scratch my head about. This is somebody who hid in a bush at a spot on Trump's own golf course where he regularly played, where the media would go to that very spot because it gave them, ironically, the cleanest shot of the president playing golf. And if it hadn't been for one Secret Service agent who spotted the barrel of this rifle coming out of the bush, Trump would probably have been killed that day. And now, third time, you have
Piers,
this
they
guy.
fired at him then, missed him. The only reason we caught him was because a woman in the parking lot wrote down his license plate number. That guy got in the car, drove away, and was like 50 miles away. This is I'm surprised. It's infuriating to me nobody's talking about this.
I agree. The point, to finish my point, is just that, okay, you got the rooftop would be the first place he'd check. That part of his golf course would be the second place he'd check, but they didn't. And here you've got a guy who's checked himself into the hotel on the Friday, armed to the teeth. And you're like, how is that even possible?
This is bureaucracy.
Let me give you an example. I wish I had said this before. I go to the Atlanta Braves baseball team, Major League Baseball. My kids are Monster fans. I'm a fan. There is a hotel with rooms that overlook the stadium. The Atlanta Braves security comes and checks the rooms to make sure you don't have guns in those rooms before every Atlanta Brave baseball game. How the hell do the Atlanta Braves have better security than the president of the United States? They didn't go around to the hotel rooms and check and see, hey, let me make sure that there's no one with guns or, God forbid, bombs staying in this hotel. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Piers, let me say one other thing about this that I think is really shocking. And I hope there's bipartisanship on this. This is the problem with government work and bureaucracy. The Secret Service should be the best of the best. There has been far too much DEI in there. It puts Democrats at risk when they're at leadership.
Come on.
No, I'm gonna. You can argue
a noun, a verb, and DEI. It's all you got, Ben.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to what I was saying.
There should be no female Secret Service agents. They should not exist.
Ferguson is dropping a truth bomb that the corporate class is utterly terrified to address. The primary mandate of the Secret Service is not to look inclusive or represent a, quote, progressive corporate slide deck. It is to act as a physical shield. It requires the most elite, physically imposing operators on Earth. By introducing, quote, diversity, equity, and inclusion metrics into a zero-fail mission, the establishment has actively put lives at risk. The defensive performance has been mathematically and operationally indefensible. When the life of a president hangs in the balance, physical reality does not care about corporate HR quotas.
You should have the baddest ass special force badasses on the planet.
You should have the best of the best. And there is data that backs up what I'm saying, that we had far too much DEI in hiring, not only at the Secret Service, but also at the FBI. And we had people that should never have been in positions of power there. Now, I say this as someone that there's Secret Service that's still protecting every living president, including Democrats. It is far too easy to get close to a Democrat and or a Republican, former president, current president, their family members. And there needs to be a massive overhaul. I don't want anyone, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, the list goes on, to have this be this easy to go after a president of the United States of America. And part of this is clearly a massive failure. And it's because of bureaucracy. You should have the best of the best. They should be SEAL Team 6 should be immediately the first that you think of to come in here. You're dealing with terrorists around the world, and you're dealing with these types of individuals. And what you have is a bureaucratic agency that should look nothing like a bureaucratic agency. So I hope that Democrats and Republicans will say together, this has got to be changed, because this is far too many shots being taken at a current president. And by the way, there will be a Democratic president. I want them to have the baddest ass people around them, no matter who they are. And if you guys get a Kamala Harris in there, I want them to be safe as they can possibly be everywhere they go, including their staff, including their cabinet members, including the vice president. I don't care about politics. They need to be safe. And clearly right now there's a massive lapse.
Can I jump in here for a second? Because
Okay. Mike Nellis first, then Cenk. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree that the Secret Service should be the best of the best, and I think we should wait to find out what actually happened instead of making assumptions based on the limited information that we have right now about what happened Saturday night.
You got a video of the dude running past. Are you saying that was good security?
Congratulations. You can look at a video, Ben, but Donald Trump and the rest of the administration are saying the Secret Service did their job, so why don't we let there be an investigation? Before you guys do what you always do, you blame it on DEI. When the plane crashed just a few weeks after Donald Trump was inaugurated, I was in D.C. that day, they blamed it on DEI too, so it's just ridiculous. Like, let's figure out what actually happened and then make a determination.
And they fired 5 times Mike and missed him. And may have been another Secret Service agent. And may have only captured him because he tripped.
Why don't you just wait and let the people whose job it is to figure out what happened actually figure it out, instead of just making an assumption and going back to the bullshit talking points? Like, it's ridiculous. Let law enforcement do their job and let them make their improvements.
It's not a bullshit talking point. Us wanting to protect Democratic president is not a bullshit talking point.
The problem is you guys want to make assumptions about everything. Like, it's just lazy.
So what grade would you give? Let me ask you this. Let me ask this. What grade would you give the Secret Service over the last 2 years? Would you give them an A or a B or a C?
I wouldn't give them. No. I wouldn't give them an A. I'm not saying the Secret Service is doing a good job, but I don't know what I would give them. I don't have access to the information. You guys are the ones that are just making...
A guy on a roof shooting the president and no one watching that roof, you can't grade that as an F.
I agree.
This is why I say it's DEI. You guys are obsessed with
you're blaming it on DEI. You don't have anything to back that up. It's just lazy. You guys have the same 3 talking points. Like, it's just so unbelievably lazy. Get some new material.
How would you fix it then? What would you call it? Educate me. Tell me what you would do to explain it. What happened in Butler? What happened the other night? What happened where the people go to take pictures, the same damn place that take pictures of the president playing golf? Teach me. Tell me in the liberal world how you would fix it then.
No, Ben, clearly there were breakdowns in security, and they should be fixed by people who know what the hell they're talking about, not 4 political commentators on Piers Morgan's YouTube show. That's the point that I'm making. You come on here with a cheap political talking point to blame it on DEI when you don't know anything that's going on. You don't know anything about security. Clay doesn't know anything about security. Neither do I.
This is the ultimate establishment cop-out. When the system fails, the left's immediate defense is to appeal to the quote-unquote experts and demand a slow-walked internal investigation. But you do not need to be a Navy SEAL to realize that when an armed suspect runs directly past security checkpoints, ... or when 5 shots are fired and miss, ... the system has completely collapsed. By saying we shouldn't talk about this, Nellis is trying to shut down public accountability. It is an attempt to lock the truth behind a bureaucratic wall while the danger continues to escalate.
Did you
Stop
see
making
videos out of
assumptions.
Butler?
I saw
not-
Butler.
All the
Hold on,
women
hold
on stage.
It's
that-
not
that-
DEI.
To be honest,
gun
okay,
was?
guys,
It's not
don't all
DEI
talk at
to
once.
say SEAL
Don't
Team
all talk at
6
once.
should be in charge of
I mean, you want
protecting
SEAL Team
the
6 to go do
president.
that.
It's not
That isn't
DEI.
SEAL Team
Hold on.
6's job. SEAL Team 6's job is to go out there and kill bad guys. That's what they're trained to do. Their job is not to protect the
Because
president of the United
they
States.
are super badasses. Why
God,
would you
this
not
is just
want
so-
the best people to protect
I want
kill
the super
people to
badasses
protect
going out
the
there and
president
killing
from being
evil people.
killed?
I want them to go find Bin Laden.
No, you
again.
don't want them to protect the president?
Let me jump in.
Lazy.
Let me jump in.
Lazy.
Let me jump in, please. I want to bring in Cenk, who's been waiting unusually patiently, because this segues, Cenk, for me, and by all means, join in that debate. But it also segues into this debate about left v right political violence. Now, the Center for Strategic and International Studies reported last September that in recent years, the US has seen an increase in the number of left-wing terrorism attacks and plots. And in fact, for the first time in many years, 2025, in fact, the first time in 30 years, was the first year where left-wing terrorist attacks outnumbered those from the violent far right. So let's not get into, who's worse. Let's accept there's been a lot of political violence on both sides. But why is political violence from the left surging in the way that it is? And I was particularly concerned about this guy's twisted manifesto because there were no red flags about him, no criminal record, nothing to suggest any violence in him at all. He's a teacher. He just won an award a few months ago, right? What would have driven this guy? And then you read the rhetoric of his manifesto, as he put it, and you're seeing, you talk about talking points, you're seeing a lot of the talking points that are drummed out on the left quite regularly have somehow permeated into his brain, a substantial brain, by all accounts, very smart guy, and they've made him get a train right across America, book himself into a hotel, and then try and attempt mass murder, which is what was on his mind. And my question for you, Cenk, is park right-wing political violence to one side for a moment. I'm not pretending they don't have a similar issue, but it hasn't been worse historically in the last 30 years. Focus just for this on this particular guy and coming off the back of a year where left-wing political violence has overtaken right-wing violence for the first time in 3 decades. What is happening here, and how do we stop it?
Yeah, I reject all of the framing in this conversation. But let me address the heart of the matter and then this nonsense talking point that Ben had. Number one, I abhor violence. Political violence is intellectual surrender. That's saying I'm pathetic. I don't know how to win a debate, so I'll resort to being a savage and doing violence or terrorism instead. So I hate it on the right. I hate it on the left. And if you're a person who is for peace, especially if you're on the left, and our movement is for peace and nonviolence, well, then if you do violence, by definition, you're not one of us. Okay, we banish you, and you don't represent a single person other than your stupid ass. Okay.
Cenk Uygur's response is highly calculated. He starts by doing what every respectable commentator must do, unequivocally condemning political violence. But watch how quickly he tries to isolate the issue. He claims these violent actors don't represent anyone but themselves, to protect the progressive movement from the consequences of its own hysterical rhetoric. This is a classic no true Scotsman fallacy. You cannot spend years fueling a furnace of moral outrage, calling your political opponents vermin or authoritarians, and then wash your hands of the ashes when an unstable member of your audience decides to take your words literally.
So now I won't put right-wing violence aside because, as you just said, historically, right-wing violence has been much more severe. But that's okay. I'm not trying to blame people. I'm trying to get past it, okay? For both sides, for God's sake, what is violence going to solve? All it's going to create is more violence. And why are we killing each other? This doesn't make any sense at all. We should be resolving this in an American way, and that's through debate and politics and winning the day through your arguments. So, and both sides have gotten out of hand, but who, on the left, are there people egging on violence? I literally never see that, right?
We are watching the slow-motion collapse of institutional authority in America. From the complete physical failure of the Secret Service to the rhetorical hypocrisy of the media elite, the system is visibly fraying at the edges. The veil of power is the illusion that the people in charge are competent enough to keep the peace. If you are ready for unfiltered, cold analysis, hit that subscribe button right now. Tell me in the comments, has the political rhetoric in America officially crossed the point of no return? I'm the Vanguard, and this has been The Report.